Right on. Welcome to the morning ride. As always, well, not always, but typically, I'm no nickname Mike. This is technically Tyler.
What's going on, everyone?
How are y'all doing today? Oh, you didn't respond?
No
That's
response.
weird. Okay, cool.
I just heard crickets.
Right on. Hey, so today what we're going to talk about is motorcycle purchases for the first-time buyers.
Yes.
We're going to talk about some steps you should take before you buy the motorcycle, and then some things you should take into consideration when making the purchase.
Yes. So, for a lot of you guys watching this, I'm sure you've probably already bought your first bike, so you could probably relate to this. And I know a lot of people are probably going to say, I wish I knew some of these things
Right.
before I bought my first bike. I know some of these I wish I would have known before I bought mine. Actually, even my second bike. I felt like I had a first buy experience twice, and I made the same mistakes twice. So these are all things
The first one was the Schwinn, and the
Yeah.
second one was the Huffy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
and by Schwinn, it was a Suzuki, but yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if any of you guys watching this are new to motorcycles or have never bought a bike before, hopefully this helps you guys out in consideration. And if you are someone that has bought one before, hopefully you can pass these tips along to somebody you know.
You know, and in addition, shameless plug, if you don't mind, probably if you're watching this podcast, you are a Bayside customer.
Yep.
Which means that you are entitled to a referral credit if you find somebody that could find this information useful. So if you have somebody that is looking at a motorcycle, looking to buy their motorcycle for the first time, or, I don't know, they've had 3 already, but they're not quite sure where to buy, send them to us.
Yep.
You'll make some money too.
Yep. It's awesome. Free money.
I love shameless plugs.
Yep. Same.
So does that soccer player, Rooney.
Rooney?
He got some hair plugs.
Did he?
They were shameless. Yeah.
They were probably pretty terrible. They usually are. Anyway, so to go ahead and kick the show off today, we're going to go ahead and start with the steps you should take before you pick your first bike. So these are things to just kind of consider, and a lot of people like to rush past these a lot of times. So I think the number one thing that everybody can always agree with is you need to take a motorcycle safety course. I know a lot of people think they don't need to take it. Some people may already have experience riding. Some people may think, oh, it can't be that hard. But the thing you got to understand is even for experienced riders, a motorcycle safety course is a smart thing to do.
I totally agree with you on that one. I know there was a lot of things that I didn't think about when I was taking the safety course. I've had experienced riders who've been riding for 30, 40 years say that they've taken the course again and relearn some things they might have possibly forgotten about, and gotten rid of old habits that probably weren't very good. The thing about safety courses right now is they're not that readily available.
Yeah.
COVID has kind of limited the ability for people to take these courses. Stuff should be kicking back up soon. I know we have plans in place to hopefully have the course starting back up in September. So, while it's not a necessity that you take a safety course, as long as you've got your license to ride a motorcycle, it is recommended that you do take a safety course.
And if for any reason you can't take one now, but you plan on taking one in the future, that's okay too. But it's recommended that you take it at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even if you're an experienced rider, like you said, it's never bad to have a refresher.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yep.
All right, so the second thing you might want to think about is the cost of insurance. If you've got a decent driving record and you've got a little bit of age on you, obviously insurance is going to be a little bit less.
Yeah.
But one of the things to think about when you're looking at a motorcycle and trying to budget for what it is you want to pay monthly is how much is the insurance going to add on to that monthly payment.
And another thing to consider, I actually come from an insurance background. I've worked for a few insurance companies myself. Almost every insurance company gives you a discount if you have a motorcycle safety certification.
Yep, that's right.
Very important as well. So if you're looking to save money, there's a benefit to doing step one as well.
Yeah,
so
totally agreed. And then the last one, since I love shameless plugs.
Yes.
Before you pick your first motorcycle, come see me down at Bayside. I don't.
Here.
Yeah, I don't sell just Harleys. We are an authorized Ducati dealership. We also take trades on all sorts of brands.
We got
Triumphs,
a ton of stuff
Victorys,
out there right
Suzukis, Yamahas. Yeah, got a bunch of bikes on the lot, and our inventory rolls over so much that what you see today might not be here tomorrow, but what you come in tomorrow and see probably wasn't there yesterday.
Exactly. So. Yeah, I know. Every time I walk outside and I work here, I'm like, I came in this morning and these were not there.
Where'd that come from?
So, next what we want to talk about is going to be things to consider when buying your first motorcycle. So the things we just talked about, not to get confused, is what to consider before you even go into that process. Now, this is while actually picking out your bike. Now, these things are all very important in their own way, but should all be considered together at the same time when making that purchase. So I'll kick it off with find what fits you. Mm-hmm. Now, to get a little bit more specific, find what fits you could mean a lot of things, but we'll talk a little bit more into that. But that usually starts with doing your research. So you need to research if there's a bike that someone's told you about, or one that you've heard or seen, and you want to know more about it. Research the ins and outs of that bike and find out and read reviews and read the good, read the bad, and see if that's something that you'd even be interested in.
Yeah. So he just blended number 1 and number 2 together, which is fine. I'll go with that, buddy. Good job. I like the way you're shortening this a little bit. Finding what fits you, it means you need to consider your height. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, another thing is you need to consider your size. You also need to consider, your physical limitations, right? Mm-hmm. If you have problems with your knees, ankles, whatever, you obviously don't want to get on a heavier bike, mm-hmm. or maybe it's time to look at a trike. And then doing your research. There's nothing better than helping out a customer that's well informed. Mm-hmm. And actually, my favorite customer is the one that knows everything.
Right.
I'm just kidding when I say that. But speaking of research, I saw that they did a study recently, and they found a society. They're calling it a utopian society, where 98% of their stuff is recycled. It's called Facebook.
That's true, bro. That's the truest thing I've heard all day.
Oh, I cracked myself up.
That's a good one. So to kind of piggyback on what Mike's saying, another thing you want to consider with seat height, bike height, the overall size of the bike as well, you want to consider the power. One thing that I see a lot is people go for looks. They go for looks over function. They go for looks over reliability. A lot of people don't realize that they're stepping up into a bigger power band than if they stuck with something more entry level. Now, it doesn't mean you have to start on the smallest bike. It doesn't mean that you have to start on what you would consider something that's only going to be good for 3 or 4 months, and then you're going to want to get up there. But you don't want to jump right into a Hayabusa bike that's a track bike or a 180 mile an hour Ducati. Like, that is not what your first bike should be. You're not even going to do those bikes justice because you're never going to want to go that fast.
Yeah, don't blow yourself off the back of the bike. Exactly. That's not fun.
So consider your power. I always see a lot of people jumping right towards the smallest bikes too. I don't necessarily think the smallest bike is the right bike to start on. And that's why all these things kind of piggyback together, because doing your research is huge. I know for a lot of people, some people are just too big for an Iron 883. They
True.
Just don't fit it.
Right.
Or they have a certain riding position that they need to be in where that bike, it just doesn't make sense for them.
Yeah.
Or they plan on going on long rides. Well, in order to get an Iron 883 to be even decent for a long ride, you need to put on highway pegs. You need to be moving up your controls. I mean, things got to be moved around to be going on those long rides. So
yeah, and that's another thing I was going to jump back and say is you also need to consider the type of riding that you're going to do.
Yes.
If it's going to be your everyday ride to and from work, and that's basically what you're doing is commute, then a smaller bike might be fine.
Yep.
But if you're planning on doing long trips, big rides, you're going with a group of people, mm-hmm. having a small tank doesn't really please the people you're riding with if you have to stop at every gas station along the way.
Exactly.
So... yeah, so the next point, I guess, because we've kind of
jumped around
blended,
a little bit.
yeah,
I like this
great,
stuff.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Don't be afraid to buy used.
Yes.
Now, a lot of times there are incentives for buying new motorcycles, and certainly people can be afraid of who had the bike before them and how they took care of it. The great thing about our dealership is we have a lot of repeat customers here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the salespeople here, or fit specialists, I apologize, are familiar with the customers, the type of riding they do, their maintenance history. A lot of these guys know the bikes not by, stock number or whatever, but by who owned the bike before. Yep. So if you come in and talk to one of our fit specialists, they can tell you exactly how that bike was taken care of, maintained. We have service records on a lot of them for these guys that come in constantly and trade in.
Yep.
And then another thing, I know we've touched on this before, but with our Freedom Promise, customers are able to, if they do decide to get on a Sportster as their first bike, trade it in within a year, get the full retail value or the full purchase price back for it in exchange for buying a new cruiser or Softail or touring bike. So we have a lot of bikes on the lot that are used but are very low mileage, so they're still babies.
Yep. And I think another one that kind of piggybacks off of that.
Well, hold on though.
You got
so another thing I had to say about buying used is a lot of people think that new is always best, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily the case, because if we take music into consideration, there's people that have no idea who Led Zeppelin is.
Right.
But they like a lot of new music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you think that's the best way to go, imagine Dragons. All right, I'm going to leave now.
Yeah, you should probably see yourself out.
Okay,
that
cool.
was bad. So, to piggyback on that, I think especially if you're looking at used, and one of the biggest things is sticking to your budget. Stick to your budget. Actually, I want to combine the two. Stick to your budget and test ride if you can.
Yeah.
I say test ride if you can because just because something's in your budget doesn't necessarily mean it's the right bike or there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
Now, if you come to a place like Bayside's going to do what they need to do to get the bike right for you, if there is anything that needs to be done. But if you are buying anywhere else, or if you've ever bought somewhere else and you've never test rode, if you could, a lot of times on used bikes you can, but it just depends on the place. And it depends on the type of bike. Certain bikes you don't have the luxury to test drive. So that's kind of where Mike was talking about service records and things like that. That's why that stuff can be so important. But sticking to your budget is huge. Because when you're buying a bike, and that's why buying used you shouldn't be afraid of, is because a lot of people are going to buy that first bike and they're going to have it for a shorter amount of time than what they're going to upgrade to.
Yep.
It's not that the first bike isn't good enough, and there are plenty of people out there that stick with their first bike for a very long time, or some people keep their first bike and then hand it down, or some people keep it as a backup and then they go buy another bike. But sticking to your budget is huge for so many reasons, because you don't want to buy too much bike.
And that's the cool thing. And if you've shopped here before, you probably heard this. We feel like we have two jobs, and actually I feel like I have three. But job number one is to find the right bike for you. Mm-hmm. Job number two is to make sure it fits your budget. Mm-hmm. If those two things don't happen, we haven't done anything for you.
Right.
My third rule, have fun.
True.
So even if we don't find the right bike, make it fit your budget. Have fun while you're here.
Exactly.
Just don't talk to Tyler.
Whatever.
Or feed the animals.
So the fit specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. You want to take number 8?
Yeah. So function over looks, right? And this is kind of something that we've touched on in some of these other points. Is to make sure it's the right bike for the type of riding that you plan on doing. I know sometimes it's nice to look flashy, although I see more black motorcycles on the road than anything else.
True.
And I don't think it's a bad thing to stand out, and that's why I wear these sunglasses all the time. But don't go for something that's flashy and sacrifice your comfort, your needs, and what the bike is going to do for you. You can always customize a Harley to do. Yeah.
That's half the fun. I'd rather get one that's bone stock and do what I want to it.
There you go.
Because chances are, if you're buying somebody else's setup, it's not your setup.
Yeah.
Just chances. So.
Sometimes you luck into one, like I did with mine, where it was set up exactly the way I wanted it. It was a used bike, and I didn't have to do anything to it, and that's incredible. But that's a unicorn, right?
Yeah, it is a unicorn for sure. And then really the last point I have is listen to other riders' stories on their first bikes. I think that kind of goes without saying. That's kind of what we're talking about here today. Like for me, when I went to buy my very first bike, I wasn't ready to buy a bike, period. I had no experience. I had never rode. I had never so much as sat on a bike that was even turned on. I just knew it sounded cool and I wanted to do it, but I put zero effort into it. I ended up buying my bike. It sat there. I never used it, sold it. Now, the second time that I bought my first bike, because that first one really didn't count. The second time, I was looking to go brand new, and I almost went brand new on an Iron 883. I loved the look. I loved the abilities that I had on it. It was going to fit because I was going to use it more for commuting than I was like going on long rides and things like that. And the price was within my budget brand new, and there were some benefits, the Freedom Promise and things like that. But for me, when I was looking at private sale, I just looked at, or private sale and used bikes, I was looking at the fact that you could get it so much cheaper, and I could still get essentially the same bike, because a lot of those that we get used, like those 883s, they come in with low miles. And it was amazing the thousands of dollars I was able to save. So although brand new is good, there's a lot of benefits. You get warranties, you get the promise and all that. When we take in those used ones, a lot of them were gently used.
Yeah.
So
very much so.
The big thing I think is talk to other riders, listen to their stories, listen to the people that made good choices, listen to the ones that made mistakes, and kind of figure out what makes the most sense for you.
Yeah, so there's a joke out there about you want to know how somebody runs marathons. Don't worry, they'll tell you about it.
That's very true.
Yeah. Same thing with motorcycle riders, though, right?
So true.
It really doesn't take much. If somebody rides a motorcycle, you're going to know because they're going to tell you.
Either you're going to ask or they're going to tell you.
Yeah. Listen to the stories that they have, their reason for riding, their passion, what bikes they like, what bikes they don't like. Of course, you got to take some of those things with a grain of salt because some people are loyal to, I guess, a fault.
Yes.
But talk to other riders. Talk to, there's got to be a reason you got into it. There's got to be some sort of inspiration.
Everything we've talked about on this episode so far, it really, every point we're making, it ties back to another point.
There was a list, but
yeah.
it was just
but it's
cyclical.
all tying together. Is the point is, even though yes, you should listen to other riders, you should still educate yourself. You should still research. You should still figure out what's best for you.
Absolutely.
So everything that we just talked about is
my first absolutely.
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 So anyway, the next thing we're going to talk about today, upcoming events, my favorite. So next week, we've got the Ducati Grand Opening, July 24th and 25th. Yes, it is a 2-day event. The 24th is going to be from about 4 or 5 p.m. to 7 when we close. And the 25th is going to be an all-day event. Now, we are going to have a DJ. We are going to have Chill Will Barbecue out here. I believe there's going to be pig roasted. So that's going to be awesome. And we're going to have the Ducati demo bikes out there for the grand opening. So if you want to hop on a 2020 Ducati and test ride it, you can ride one of the demo bikes and you actually get a free t-shirt.
Or if you just want a free t-shirt, take a test ride on a Ducati.
There you go. And then,
now it does say Ducati, so if you don't like Ducati,
don't take that test ride. And then to hit on the last event that we have coming up, we've got the Bayside Harley-Davidson 22nd anniversary on August 15th. Now, we are going to have also music. We actually have 3 food vendors. We kind of overbooked, so there's going to be a little bit of everything for everyone.
That's all right. There's going to be plenty of people here for that.
Yep. So, Taste of Maine, which we had at the last event, and people loved it. They do like seafood and things like that. We have Why Not Pizza, I believe is what they're called. It's like an Italian restaurant.
Yep.
And then we have Hangry's, which is the one that I booked, Hangry's Food Truck. So if you want some delicious meals, Hangry's always has a crazy plan for their meal and menu. So if you're looking for something just crazy that you probably never had, Hangry's is the place to get it.
But also, if you want delicious food, go to Taste of Maine or Why Not Pizza. I mean, These guys are all going to be out here slinging product for you.
Get something at each one.
So we just got a little bit of information, I think it was last night, about a ride that's going to be ending here on our 22nd anniversary.
Yes.
So we'll have more details on upcoming podcasts because I don't want to misstate anything. But
yeah, so what we're going to do, because we have the Ducati Grand Opening next week, that will already be passed by the time we film the next episode. So we will actually spend a decent amount of time on the 22nd anniversary because it's supposed to be huge.
Yes.
And as long as weather and the governor permits, we should have a pretty huge a huge event with a lot of people there, a lot of things to do, lots of vendors, and it's going to be a great time.
Right on.
So. And then
Ride on,
yes, sir. The last thing that we want to talk about is deals of the month. Now, 12 Days of Christmas in July is still going on. So far, it has been absolutely amazing. I did talk to the manager of the department that runs Motor Clothes. She especially wanted me to hit the day that you guys watch this, which is going to be Monday. So I know it's a little bit short notice, but that is the day that there's an additional 20% off all clearance items. This is huge. You need to get in and take advantage of the sale. This is I'm going to be in here buying stuff, and it's my day off. So I will definitely be buying stuff. So make sure you guys come down when you see this.
I'm not letting you in the building, bud.
That's not true.
You better be wearing a mask.
I will definitely wear a mask.
All right, July 21st, 25% off all helmets. So we already know that any Sunday you can come in and trade in a DOT-approved helmet and get 20% off a helmet. Well, on July 21, yeah, thanks for the interruption there, bud. On July 21, you don't even need to trade in a helmet.
Yep.
You can just get 21% off a helmet.
25.
Yeah.
I really messed you up with that, didn't I? 25% off.
Sometimes I hate you, and sometimes I hate you more.
Thanks.
Yep.
July 22nd, we've got 30% off of rain
I think it'd be
gear.
better if we did 21% off, though.
That'd be cool, but I think people like the 25 because the 21 sounds petty. It sounds like we're just
But it's on the 21st.
But it sounds like we're just a little bit above 20%.
I love petty.
You know what I mean?
I love petty.
So July 22nd, 30% off of rain gear. It has been raining a lot, and I'm sure it's going to continue to do so. So get in and get your rain gear.
Yeah, I'm like Missy Elliott. I can't stand the rain, so. You're welcome, bud. July 23rd, 25% off all leather jackets. That is a huge sale.
Yes, that takes a lot.
Everybody knows that leathers are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
If you only have to spend 75% of what the product cost,
yeah,
and you still reap 100% of the benefit, sounds like you won.
Sounds like you won. That's true. Then July 24th. What did we say last time for all you Ducati cats? Is that what we called it?
All you Ducati cats.
Ducati cats, $50 off of Ducati helmets and jackets. Those things are sweet.
They are pretty sweet. I will, as a Harley guy, I'll still have to admit that.
Yes.
They've got some nice products. All right, and then last, but certainly not least, July 25th, which caps off our 12 days of Christmas in July. Buy one, get one, 50% off on all dealer Ducati shirts.
And like you said last week, we just stocked up on some new colors and new designs. So we're growing that as well. So come down and get one. And then the last thing we want to
keep those
talk
girls
about,
in motor clothes busy, because I'm tired of them goofing off.
So
I'm just kidding. They're hard workers.
For the entire month of July, if you buy a brand new bike, you get 15 seconds in the tornado of cash.
It's pretty awesome. Somebody won $300 and some odd last week.
Yeah.
That guy had big hands though, so he was catching cash everywhere.
Yes, he
Maybe
was.
some of it was on the floor, but
Maybe.
But yeah, so what we'll do is whatever fake money that you collect in the tornado of cash, we'll count it out and write you a gift certificate equivalent to that amount, and you can spend here in store to either customize your bike or buy riding gear. Or
Can you use that with any of these sales? Do you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Gift certificates can be used on anything.
So there you go. I mean, if we got a sale going on that day.
Yep. And for you fellas, when you scoop up that money and you make a bunch, you can thank your lovely wife by buying her some jewelry or something from
There you
here.
go. There you go. That's a good idea.
Biker babes are sweet.
Yeah, they are. Cool, man. That's episode 12 in the books.
Man.
12
Seemed like
weeks.
it took so long to get here.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, well, bud. It's been fun.
Yes, it has.
All right, guys. Well, you've been on the morning ride. For Technically Tyler, I'm No Nickname Mike. Thank you very much. Have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Later.